everybody, how's it going? Happy Friday. Welcome to episode 42 of the GVGCast. I'm just assuming you can hear me at this point. I don't actually know. My name is Steve.
I mean, I can hear you, so that's good.
Oh, they can hear me. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I'm your host, Steve Bowling. Ash is out attending to a personal matter, so he won't be here tonight, but everything's fine. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend and GVG co-founder, Derrick Bittner. How you doing, man?
Hello. I'm doing all right. Just ended up missing that the Microsoft Direct, which, from my understanding, was except for the big release, which we will be talking about a bit later, or maybe we even just get into it right away because it just seems to be the thing right now. I've seen like my mutuals explode with just love of that game, which is good because I heard nobody talk about anything else related to the Direct.
Yeah. The Microsoft Direct was definitely saved by Hi-Fi Rush. It was a really cool surprise to see. You know, Microsoft isn't really known for like first party colorful stuff. So it was really cool to see that. And it's a fun game. I've played a little bit of it. I didn't think rhythm action game would be something that would be in my wheelhouse, but here I am. I've played several hours and I'm really enjoying it. But before we get to all that, obviously we have a little bit of housekeeping to do at the top of the show, which includes shouting out our sponsor for this episode and every episode of GVGcast, The Game Orb. And if you haven't heard of them, The Game Orb is a YouTube channel that brings commentary and gameplay footage from the Nintendo Switch and Xbox Series X gaming systems. While games like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu can be seen on the channel along with others, the Game Orb will also now be adding Splatoon 3, Super Mario Sunshine, and Fall Guys to their gaming collection. So be sure to subscribe to the Game Orb at the link in the description, or if you're watching us live here on YouTube, right there in chat, which I will be pasting that here for you shortly. Go show them some love. Let's get those subscriber numbers up and get them the attention they so deserve. My brain just froze for a minute there. But
I feel that it's been quite the week. I can't even put it to like complete words exactly, just because Kai's been getting over being sick, Amy's been getting over being sick, so I've been playing nursemaid to some degree a bit, which has thrown me behind in general. So that's all right. I making progress. I'm almost done with the video. I'm in the video editing phase of it, so I'm just trying as my best to get it done so I can get to the next video, which I think I'll be honest, I think probably more people will be excited for that one over this one, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the works. I've got a couple videos of my own that I'm working on. I'm keeping my promise to y'all. Next week we'll have Game of the Month video from me. And I'm working on another one about Nintendo's next console. So hopefully we'll be able to get those out the door next week for your viewing enjoyment.
Yeah,
but
I want to keep that consistency up for us. It's a big, I guess that's my New Year's resolution, is just keep going like that.
Yeah, same. Just more videos. I need to do more than I did last year. I'm feeling energized, and after coming into the new year, I'm really excited to make a lot more new content. I tend to get in my head about what I make, and then I tend to overanalyze, and then just the idea falls apart before I do anything with it. So now I'm just like, turn the camera on,
feel that.
say the words, and let it out the door, and then just work on the next one. So yeah, there will be a lot more coming. Hopefully in the next week or so. But anyway, I have a feeling that I'm going to know the answer to this question, and I have a feeling that it's going to be not a lot. But what have you been playing lately?
Not a lot. Although actually no, that's a somewhat untrue. I finally got a chance to start Horizon Forbidden West with Amy.
Nice.
So I was doing special streams on my personal channel on every Wednesdays, and I'll be coming back to those on occasion, just depending on the game that's coming up. But in replace of that, I don't get to spend a lot of time with Amy. We're both working and getting stuff done quite a bit, so it's hard to like get that extra time in. So I've taken that time that I had put aside for streaming and just gave it to Amy. So we decided to use it as a chance to play games of stories that she wants to see, but not necessarily want to play. So yeah, we started Horizons Forbidden West, and I've not gotten far. I basically got through the tutorial got the reason for why we're going to the Forbidden West. That's where I ended.
Oh,
So
nice. So that's
yeah.
really cool. Like I'm really excited that you guys are playing that. It was one of my favorite games last year. It was very nearly my game of the year until God of War came along. So I think
Mm.
you guys are in for a real good time. Um,
I
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm seeing like from Moon Road and other people that Forbidden West is kind of long. Yeah, that's what I've heard as well, which is why I'm actually like making sure to stick with just the main story quest and some of the side quests and not really worry about the other like collectible stuff probably.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was reviewing it, and so I definitely felt that rush to have to get through the narrative and then go back and do all the side stuff. But even beyond that, it feels like when you play games these days, it you have to go through the story kind of to the detriment of other stuff, lest you be spoiled or or just to have the availability to move on to the next thing and play the ancillary content more casually later on. I've been trying to do that this week with Fire Emblem Engage, which I'm just over the moon about. I'm really enjoying that game. Although in some ways I feel like it's a little bit stripped down.
I've heard that the basic overarching thing I've heard about Engage is that it is some of the best tactics in
Yeah.
recent years for Fire Emblem, but the characters and storyline are a tad forgettable.
Yeah, for me it's I really enjoyed the academy sections in Three Houses, like, going through and checking in on the students and having little kind of side stories as your relationships with them developed, and that's still there to like a very minor degree in Engage, where it's like you finish a battle and then you can kind of wander around the battlefield and talk to people, or you can go to the
Mm.
Somnial, which is like your base, but there's not a ton to do, at least where I'm at in the game, and I'm about a dozen chapters deep, like 12 chapters in, and
Okay.
I think I've unlocked everything in the Somnial, unless there's some kind of crazy secret I don't know about. Um, but the story's really good. The combat is out of this world. It's like really fun to watch. I thought I'd be skipping animations by now, and I'm not. Um, so it's definitely the bones of it are really great. I don't have much negative to say. It's kind of a weird thing where I feel like at points in Three Houses the balance shifted towards the end of the game. You kind of felt like, okay, I have to do all this academy stuff still. I want it to be over,
Yeah,
and I think they might maybe overcorrected a bit.
perhaps. I know by the time I got to the time skip in the in Three Houses, I was like, okay, I'm getting really tired of going through all this. And then I really felt it when I played through with Amy. She did not want to have to fight her students at all, so we went out of our way to recruit all of them, which means we had even more people to talk to in the second half, and it
Oh
just
man.
dragged the game so much.
Yep.
But the one thing I've heard about Engage as far as the characters that makes me at least somewhat interested is that the side characters are all insane lunatics, and your main character Lear is just sort of like the straight man being like, what the hell am I in with at this point?
It does seem to be that way. I'm really enjoying it though. So far I'm mostly positive on it. I really like the game.
That's good.
I've played a few other things, but Fire Emblem's probably been the bulk of my time. I picked up a DualSense Edge the other day just to try that out.
What's the
It's all
difference
right.
between the regular and the Edge? I honestly don't remember.
So the DualSense Edge is like their pro controller, like their high end, very expensive. Like it costs as much as like three regular controllers.
Oh God.
But it's got like customizable triggers to where you can shorten the pull on them, which is supposed to help you with shooters. It's got different sticks, like swappable analog sticks. So like these guys can come off. This is just a regular DualSense.
Huh.
The pros over there somewhere. But these can come off, and apparently I haven't done this yet, but you can actually take out the entire analog stick module and replace it. So if your
Oh.
sticks start to drift, you can just take them out with your bare hands and put in new ones. And Sony sells new sticks, I want to say, for like $20 or something. So you
Okay.
add those sticks back in, and suddenly your controller is good as new. So it's definitely interesting. It comes with also an ungodly hard case. Like this thing is meant to take a beating, I think.
I It's meant to survive kids.
Yeah. I think the aim, and I'm still trying to figure out who exactly it's for, but I think the aim is, for the pro gamer who travels with this controller. Like, this is the one they put in their bag to go to like a tournament or something and play, for money, hopefully to pay for the cost of the controller. But yeah, I've been tooling around with that, playing Fortnite and Astro and other stuff. And I'll have some impressions up on the channel next week about it. Just how I feel about it. This was not one that Sony provided. I just went out and bought it to see what it was like, because I love the DualSense, and I for some reason have picked up like every variation of it.
You're addicted.
I am, and I have played a lot of Astro, and I do have an Astro back there somewhere. I see people commenting. I don't know if they saw my Astro or if they're just mentioning I should play Astro. If you have a PS5, you should play Astro.
Yes.
But anyway, let's talk about well, we got birthdays. I'm going to shout those out real quick. I didn't forget y'all. We have a whole list of birthdays, and they're
January, man.
Yeah, they're belated, all of them, but except for one. But Kyle Gamer, happy birthday as of the 21st. Geller, happy upcoming birthday on the 31st. Shulkian, birthday on Christmas Eve, happy belated.
Dang.
And finally, our resident Pokemon superfan, Steven Turquoise, whose birthday was at the beginning of January. So happy birthday to all y'all. We hope you're having, we hope you had or are going to have wonderful birthdays. And that's good news. A year older, a year wiser, hopefully. Speaking of older, though, let's talk about an old game. Derrick, I feel like you and I, as the resident olds on GVG, are the most primed to discuss this. But this was the week that we finally got the much vaunted re-releases of GoldenEye. So GoldenEye, if you don't know, launched 1 day early ahead of the announced date on both Nintendo Switch Online and on Xbox Live. And it was a weird launch in both cases. I played both versions last night. I picked up the Switch version, and I played it initially just with Joy-Con, but I was not as wise as our man John, and I didn't know that you could do arcane magic to get dual analog. So if you haven't seen our short on that, John explains it in like a minute somehow.
I can't wrap my head around it. I'm like following his guy. I haven't done the two tricks where you do the other thing. So, confession, this is my first time playing GoldenEye.
Wowza. That is...
Yeah. I didn't grow up with an N64, and my friends really weren't... I didn't have friends that really played it a lot. I was mainly a single player gamer. So I just missed the train on GoldenEye. So my big multiplayer shooter introduction was Halo,
which is not a bad intro.
No, it's a pretty dang good intro. I'm pretty happy about that. And I don't know. I tried John's stuff except for the last bit where you did the dual controller thing. I don't even know. And I'm just like, I can't move and shoot. It's just everything's all wrong. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's hard. So GoldenEye, if you're not familiar, I'm going to date myself. I'm old enough to where I had my first beer while playing GoldenEye. I was underage. I'm not that old.
Of course you were.
But my friend and I remember we like stole one of his dad's beers, and it was terrible. Like, it was terrible even like by beer standards today, but it was awful. We were both trying to be cool though and pretend that it didn't taste terrible. And we were drinking, it was like a natty ice, and we were drinking it and playing GoldenEye. And for the time, I had zero complaints about GoldenEye. It was like the best controlling shooter I'd ever played. Playing it now, like decades on, I was like, the auto aim in this is so incredibly aggressive, and it has to be because you have one analog stick. Yeah. The control scheme makes no sense.
If I try again, I have to go into it not wanting to do dual analog in it. I just need to go in with Doom mindset.
Yeah, it would really help. I feel like I played it and it didn't click for me until I dug out my N64 NSO controller. And then suddenly it was muscle memory kicked in, and I was like, oh right, this is how I shoot people without getting killed. But
I fumbled around like pushing all the buttons trying to figure out what the hell shoots.
oh yeah, you need on the Switch controller. NSO makes no sense. Like, you need that N64 controller for those games. Like, they were designed for just that weird Trident controller, and no amount of button remapping will help you remember what does what.
No.
But it's a blast to see it again. I really enjoyed playing it. It's kind of a funny thing where it controls so much better on Xbox because it just has a modern control scheme that it's much more fun to play single player there. But obviously Nintendo got the online multiplayer, and that's the draw of the game. Like, I might have played 10 hours of the campaign as a kid, but I probably played like 500 of multiplayer because there's just so many absurd things you can do. I remember back in the day, my friend and I, like, lots of people did slaps only. My friend and I would do remote mines only. And so we would find the biggest room on the map, and we'd put a remote mine on the wall next to each other. And then we would shoot at the remote mine and try to take each other out.
Oh my God.
We spent hours doing that stupid stuff. Stupid things like that in GoldenEye were my favorite. So I'm looking forward to playing it online with you guys and having fun with that. Which, speaking of which, there's a great time for me to mention that if you'd like to play games with us, head over to patreon.com/gvgaming. If you join our executive producer squad or above, you can play games with us twice a month. We're going to be playing Smash and Arms with our executive producers this Sunday. And we also have a Fight a Founder tier, which is probably our most popular tier, where you can choose any one of GVG's co-founders and play games with us once a month on a private one-on-one session. So check that out, patreon.com/gvgaming.
Definitely do so. I play Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm doing a race in Spyro right now.
Yeah, so I have to get and play the Dead Space remake with one of our executive producers, Cutie Kate.
Oh no, you poor thing,
you monster! But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, even though I know it'll scare the pants off me. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. Speaking of which, I'm gonna shuffle up our news stories. The Dead Space remake apparently is quite good.
I've been hearing nothing but good things, which is great to see. I really enjoyed Dead Space to the point that I platinumed it.
Wow.
Yeah, I platinumed back in the day. I did not platinum. Honestly, it wasn't that hard. The platinum was pretty easy, and I played through a second time with just the one mission was just harder difficulty with just. I think one of them was harder difficulty, but also beating it with just the starting weapon, and I just clicked with that much. It was just that good and fun.
Dang.
And the first weapon is really damn good. You can easily beat the entire game just upgrading that. And the funny thing is, if I'm properly equipped, I don't really feel that much fear from a game. So I never got super freaked out by Dead Space, but I definitely heard from some people that were like, no, that's just scared the pants off me. So
yeah, I'll be interested.
I don't know where you'll fall.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where I land, because some games like Resident Evil 4 doesn't bother me. Like some of the Silent Hill games didn't really bug me too much. So it'll be interesting to see where this kind of falls for me, because the more recent Resident Evil games scare the crap out of me. Like, I just do not vibe with them very much. I'm way too much of a coward. But yeah, Dead Space looks good. It's got like a 90 on Metacritic. Not that matters, but it is a good barometer of how the critical consensus is at this moment. But before we continue, let me go ahead and take a quick look at some of our super chats, because I feel like we've gotten a few, even though I just want to say, I don't know if YouTube is misreporting, but one of you may have super chatted us earlier before the show started, and it's not showing on the list. So if you did super chat and we didn't get it, I apologize.
Yeah, there was it seems like a relatively large super chat that just is not marking it for us. It's weird.
Yeah, so if that's one of you out there, just let us know. We would love to read your message. We just don't have it. Like, YouTube didn't give us the message. Either that or it's lying about the donations, but it's way above what we're seeing. So anyway, that's enough inside baseball for the moment. I'm going to read out a couple of these and then we'll keep going through the show. Kaiser the Fighter with $2 says Zuko from Avatar versus Todoroki from My Hero Academia. You choose. I don't know Zuko because I haven't watched Avatar.
Oh, you haven't watched Avatar? Well, one, I gotta watch Avatar just because it's that good. And Todoroki would still win just because dude can control both ice and fire.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I know enough about Avatar to know they're one element folks. So I feel like someone with two would have a leg up. All right, following that up, Jaden Buck with $10. Crazy Question Fridays. Crazy question number 68. That still blows my mind.
We're so close.
If we never went into lockdown 2 years back, do you think Animal Crossing New Horizons would have still had the impact it did? No.
No, absolutely not. It would have been well loved amongst the fan base. It would not have blown up the way it did.
Right. I feel like going into lockdown, this game launched at just the most opportune time because people were bored and couldn't go anywhere, and they saw this game, which admittedly is like a wholesome, cute.
It's melatonin in a game.
Yeah,
especially at the
or
time.
Serotonin. But yeah,
serotonin, that's better.
Well, I guess melatonin puts you to sleep. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know. It's cozy as hell.
It is. It's cozy. It's like a warm hug. But it's a really good game. But personally, like the people I know in my life that don't game that pick this up, I don't think they would have if their lives just continued as normal. Like my mom would not have bought a Switch in Animal Crossing. That being said, great game, worth your time. Just don't think it would have been the cultural phenomenon that it was. Thank you for the super chat. Kaiser the Fighter is back with $2 more. Sweet Tooth versus Rick Taylor from Splatterhouse. I go Rick Taylor every time. That dude fought like literal demons.
Yeah, I think Rick Taylor's fought stronger beings, so I think he's got this one.
Yeah. This one's going to throw me off. From Zub Mayer with $2. Entrapta versus Peppermint versus Hatsune Mei.
I know the first one, but I don't know the other two. And I can't just look up Peppermint because, I'll get the candy. So I'm not sure. But just because I know Entrapta and Entrapta is wonderful, I'm going to go with Entrapta.
Nice. I'm going to throw that one
She-Ra
completely to you. I did find our missing super chat.
Good.
It came from our usual pal and longtime supporter, Aramis Baramis. And I've got the message right here. Aramis writes, let's see. Is there a game that y'all played that had a convoluted plot that was hard to follow, but you still really enjoyed? Thank you so much for your, as usual, generous support. We always appreciate you. And I mean, I'm going to go with the obvious. I loved Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, and if Metal Gear doesn't cross your eyes, I don't know what will.
I'm trying to think of like even more complicated plots that I still enjoyed, but yeah, I think Metal Gear Solid kind of fits that bill. I'm looking over my game collection and just thinking like some people are saying Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is not that confusing to me.
See, I was gonna say you like Kingdom Hearts. I was gonna say it's confusing, but maybe that's just the mess of games. I don't know.
I like the first game is extremely easy to follow, and everything after that, like if you know the series, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I feel like Metal Gear is the easy one. I'll throw a second one out there just because, again, we appreciate your support. Phantasy Star has a very like if you follow generation to generation, the plot of Phantasy Star, like from 1 to 4, I don't count Phantasy Star Online, but if you want to throw that in there, it does get even more complicated. But the story of Dark Falls and the way the whole universe works is a trip. So I would strongly recommend those because they do some reveals throughout there that are just wild.
I trying to think of like some of these, like I think of like Final Fantasy Type 0 or Final Fantasy 13 where the plots are ridiculous, but I also stopped playing both of those, so
yeah
that doesn't really work. I think generally I just stick with games I can understand, or I find I can understand what the games are trying to do for the most part. I'm trying to think of like anything that's truly confusing me, and I got nothing. Stranger in Paradise might be one of them. But everything I've seen since that is like Stranger Paradise looks like it's actually pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I need to play the rest of that game. I have it. I played a little bit and I just never got too deep into it, but I'd like to finish it and find out what the real story is there.
Yeah. Oh, Captain Caution, that's pretty good. Chrono Cross, that definitely can be a bit confusing, and I was still into that, so that might be my best answer actually.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you, Aramis. We appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always good to see you in the crowd. I'm sorry that YouTube ate your super chat and didn't show it to us.
Yeah, it's very odd.
But I'm glad we were able to get that message and save it from the abyss. Anyway, So we were, and I'll get to more super chats later on. By the way, if you submit one that is topical to what we're discussing, I will try to read that out while we're talking about it. So if I read chats out of order, it's just because it's germane to our current conversation. I don't want you guys to think I'm skipping over a bunch of you. So I'm keeping an eye on those as they come in. But anyway, so we didn't really, we talked about it a little bit at the top of the show, but I want to get a little bit deeper into it. Derrick, have you tried Hi-Fi Rush yet?
I have not. I had to suspend my Game Pass account, and I got the code from you, but I'm saving it for exactly when I need to play it. So that's when I redeem it. That's just to maximize it, because it's only 3 months. So I appreciate what you gave over. I just want to be able to maximize my time.
Oh yeah, no way. Don't start the meter if you're not going to play yet.
Yeah. And I mean, everything I've seen some of the animations from Hi-Fi Rush. I've seen the character that apparently is all JoJo poses. I saw a little clip on Twitter of Maximilian dude reacting to like a backbreaker one of the bosses does to the main character. I saw Ash freaking out about it. Like, everything I see is just immensely positive about this game. And I do want to check it out.
It absolutely deserves your attention. I think that it's a really, really good game. I feel like it's surprising to see it from Microsoft, especially just because they're not known for really like colorful, exciting kind of this vibe is not really them usually. So I'm glad that they're doing different things. I feel like after 2022, they really need this. They need this kind of variety in their lineup because of the fact that it's just such a weird time for Microsoft. Like, we went a whole year without any output. Seeing it's nice to see this after a long silence, and I'm excited for what we'll get for the future. But the Shadow Drop was really like the best move they could have done with this. And
I forgot that Tango Gameworks was the one who came up with Evil Within. And I've not played either the Evil Within games. I heard the first one's okay, but the second one's really good.
Yeah.
So I guess I should pay more attention. And Shadow Mopway actually has a $5 super chat saying, you know what? Tango has become Capcom. They made a DMC styled game. It's fun looking and the characters are amazing. Plus there's a dummy mommy even. I mean, they might be going down that path. It's it's entirely possible if they get that sort of idea, or just variety, I guess is the better idea.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Microsoft's acquisition of all these studios starting to bear fruit. I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of their first party output is kind of samey. Like, it's all kind of dark, gritty realism. I like seeing interesting art direction coming out of Microsoft. I think Sony and Nintendo have that in spades, but you see it so much less from Microsoft. And I feel like that's their biggest weakness, is that their games are not varied in their presentation. And it's nice to see that Microsoft is starting to maybe it's still too early to say it, but it's nice to see a hint that maybe they're getting that message. Like, they need to diversify a bit more in terms of the types of games they put out, that Xbox fans want stuff more than just, grimdark, gritty shooters, Space Marine shit. So
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is great. You should absolutely try it out. Speaking of, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying we have another super chat related to that.
RecBCQ
at $5 as well. Thank you so much. Saying, I'm blown away by the price of Hi-Fi Rush. I was expecting it to be a full $60 game, but it's half of that, at least on Steam.
Yeah,
I only heard Game Pass, so I didn't know how much it actually costs. So
it is a $30 game on Xbox too. I was surprised. I, like everyone else, just ran to Game Pass and downloaded it, and then I thought, like, man, I should really buy this. Like, it's worth owning outside of Game Pass, so I should buy it. And I looked it up, and they have like a deluxe edition, and the deluxe edition is only $40. So that led me to look up the regular, and it was only $30. So I was very happily surprised to see that not only is it a really cool, really fun looking game, but it's also a budget title.
I just looked up how long to beat, and they're not exactly super accurate about all this, but saying about 8 to 12 hours. Yeah, for to beat the game. Completion is of course a bit longer, but that's pretty meaty, especially with graphic style that unique. So
yeah, lot of effort poured into this game. A lot of very high production values. It really shows. So I'm really excited for the future of what Tango's going to do. I like that they diverged this much from their usual stuff. Uh, Speaking of which, stuff that we have been dipping our toes into. Derrick, have you checked out the Last of Us show yet? Have you seen any episodes?
I have not had the chance. It's tricky because I don't get a lot of time to myself, and when I do have time to myself, well, not really with myself by myself. I have Kai with me, and
Oh, sure.
I don't think he'd watch that.
Yeah,
I don't think he should watch that.
I would agree with that. So watching The Last of Us is a Sunday night ritual in my house now. So I usually have company over. Kids are in bed. Definitely. I agree with you. My girls are not going to watch this.
No.
And we put on HBO Max and we check out the latest episode. So obviously, the show's only been on for 2 weeks. So I'm 2 episodes deep. And I'm into it. There are some changes. The second episode diverges from the plot of the game in a significant way. I won't mention it here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a fairly significant divergence, but I think it's a good one. And the reason I say that, I saw it getting hated on online last week, and people were quick to, oh, this isn't how the game was. And I saw that there's, people are doing shot by shot comparisons. So I think there's obvious love and attention, for the source material there. But they mentioned, like, Sony made these little vignettes, and I think they purposely, like, promoted the hell out of the latest one because they're like, we want to explain why we changed events from the game for the show. So they explained that a key event, I'm not going to try to explain it without going into spoilers, but someone dies very early in the show and in the game, and the details of that death are pretty significantly altered. So they go to explain why, and they basically said, well, we talked to the folks at Naughty Dog, and we kind of explained that, you have this world where you have fungus and spores and all this stuff, and the way you kind of present them in the game makes sense in the context of a game, but not a whole lot if you think about the real world and science and how epidemiology works. And they have this whole, like, scientifically backed explanation that I kind of dug. I thought it was neat. And I'm still, I think that this is probably like a minor course correction where we're going to see that the major story beats are still largely the same. I don't think they're going to go too crazy. I don't think they took too much artistic license because, again, you kind of see these shot for shot details. Like, Joel is literally wearing the same shirt leaned up against the same building, and they even tried to pose him the same way. And there were parts where Pedro Pascal, I saw an interview with him where he's like, I didn't do that pose Joel did because I'm a real human with knees and it would hurt. And he's like, but I try where I can. So I think they're doing a really good job. I think they're doing, a really, really good job with the way the show is set up. The production values are really good. So, the news that we're getting a second season kind of makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a little early to announce it, but I'm curious what the internet thinks of this, because I'm pretty sure this means we're getting The Last of Us Part 2 in season 2.
I guess they would. I'm actually like a little shocked that they would cover the entirety of the first game in that first season, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, because Joel and Ellie's journey, like, I don't know how long the season is. I'm going by anime standards here, so I'm assuming 12 episodes, like 12-hour-long episodes. Right. Feels like it should be more than enough time, especially when you consider that the significant gameplay portions are going to be condensed down into like 10 minutes. Like you're gonna see them. Episode 2 covers the hotel from the beginning of part 1, and that for me was like a 45-minute gameplay chunk, but obviously they covered it in one episode. So it's definitely interesting to see, but I'm excited. So far the show's really good. I think that
I've heard nothing but good things. I do want to check it out, and as Cutie Caitlin is letting us know, it's been renewed for season 2. That's why we're talking about this. That's what we're just talking about this as well.
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, did they announce it too early? Like, because I wonder how much.
I don't think so. They announced how quickly they renewed freaking House of the Dragon by like for end of the first episode. So it makes sense, and especially because HBO and Warner need wins right now. So Get
Yeah,
that out there.
that's fair. And it does seem to be doing, by all accounts, fairly well for them. So, yeah, I think if you have HBO Max, definitely check it out. It's a really, really great video game adaptation. I actually had somebody ask me to start doing like a review of each episode, but I don't know. Let me know if you guys want that. Maybe I'll maybe I'll turn my mic on and blather every Sunday night at you guys about what I thought of the episode. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited to see what episode 3 will bring, because we end on a divergence point, so I'm interested to see if they continue down that path or if they course correct back into the canon of the game. I'm betting that we're going back into the game. Let's keep the ball rolling with talk about Naughty Dog, since we're still with them. Apparently, and Derrick, you probably know a little bit more about this one than I do, because I'm not a big Uncharted person, but Naughty Dog has said that they've moved on from the Uncharted series and there are no plans to make further games. And I believe further down in that interview, they also mentioned that they could do the same with The Last of Us.
I mean, I did see that about The Last of Us. That's a little... I feel like they could tell more stories, but I've not played part 2. So I don't know anything about that as far as I'm concerned, but it feels like they could easily just make other stories in that same world if they really wanted to. In fact, that's what a lot of people expected from a Last of Us 2, is like, just let Joel and Ellie's story end and not focus on 2 other new characters. As for Uncharted, you've played Uncharted 4, right?
Yes. I didn't beat it, but I have played it.
Okay, the way it ends is honestly a perfect wrap up to it. This makes complete sense. Unless they do something with a new character, there was no need to continue on. It perfectly wraps it up.
That makes sense. I need to play them. I've heard good things. I just never found the time. I definitely cast a bit of doubt on the idea that they're done with The Last of Us, especially because they just made the show. And I feel like Sony, Sony would definitely want for them to make another game to cash in on the popularity of the show, because you're going to get a lot of new fans. But the thing that really makes me doubt it, and it's a unique piece of information to GVG, is that when we were in Seattle for PAX, I actually got to hang out with Neil Druckmann, the co-creator of The Last of Us, at a party. And I asked him point blank if there was going to be a third Last of Us. And while, of course, being who he is, he was non-committal. He didn't, he's not going to be like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
He did respond in a way that I found interesting, was that he said, I think we could find more stories to tell. And I was like, well, I mean, that's not an outright confirmation of a part 3. But like you said, it could lead to some other in-universe thing where they explore different characters or different stories. But if you've never played The Last of Us 2, and I won't give you a spoiler, it doesn't end on what I would call a perfect wrap up for the characters. There's room to interpret what goes on. So, I mean, I Eat Dragons also has a really great idea. They could just do part 3, but it's in the TV universe. Like, it doesn't have to be a game, right? They could continue in a new medium for The Last of Us.
I guess that's true.
But
yeah, they just like Neil Druckmann have his story and just keep it going.
Way more important news.
I was going to say, did you see it? I saw from Juan as well. I just went on Twitter and saw it. I'm going to grab this.
Hell yes. I'm putting this up on the screen right now.
I'm going to put it in the chat. Congrats to Shesez, fellow dad.
Congrats to our boy Shesez. Yo, let's go.
That's a cutie. Look at the tongue hanging out. That's a cutie.
What a beautiful family. Let me get the... I've got the baby cropped out by mistake. Let me scroll or make larger this window so I can just throw this up here real quick. I am so proud of them. Yeah. Let's see, height 1,000. There we go.
That is a good time. Honestly, I am must have gone pretty easy or not pretty easy, but I felt he looks way better than I did. I felt utterly exhausted by that.
Oh, I will tell you, knowing that man personally and having spent time with him recently, that is a tired face. He's just very happy.
Okay.
Like, he is.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
I'm so thrilled for them. He told me about the pregnancy at PAX when he had not yet publicly announced it. And I cried tears of joy for this man. He is such a wholesome person. Like, as a dad, I know he's going to be just amazing. He's, no doubt in my mind. All our love to Shesez and his family. Man, that baby is one lucky baby. That is gonna be a spoiled baby, man.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I'm very, very excited. That is amazing news. That is, man, we're not going to top that for the rest of the episode.
No, we can't. Fortunately, the Uncharted story was kind of the last story we had. So
yeah, exactly. We were out of news to discuss anyway. I'm going to read some super chats real quick, and then we're going to hop into our patron topics, which, again, if you'd like to be able to submit topics for us to discuss on each and every episode of GVGCast, you can head over to patreon.com/GVGaming. We're at our producer tier and above. You can do that. We also have a ton of other tiers. Go check them out. But that's what gets your topics onto the show. Sometimes we even read them during the post show, which is another Patreon exclusive perk. Again, patreon.com/GVGaming, where you can check that out. But we do have some super chats. Jario9 or Hario, I don't know how to say that. I apologize. It's the first one I've seen from you. With £5 says, "Yo, GVG, wanted to share some good vibes. Recently went on a trip to visit my partner. We've been in a long distance relationship for 6 years, and we're finally able to meet up." Wow!
Oh my gosh, 6 years and only just now. That is incredible.
That is,
congratulations.
Congrats, and I hope you guys are having a great time together.
Seriously.
Yeah,
6 years.
That's wild. Rec BCQ with $5. Thank you. Says, "Guys, you're online. You don't have to social distance." Derrick probably doesn't know that we're social distancing, but
I've seen the screen.
Yeah, there's an ash-sized hole in our stream. But
that is true.
Obviously,
I was going to say I just don't want your cooties.
we were just prepped for the baby birth tweet. Obviously, we knew.
Yeah.
We had insider info.
Yeah, absolutely.
Waffle King with 1480, Waffle King 1480, or just Waffle King as we know him around here, with $4.99 says, "Overslept. I'm here now. Welcome." If I remember correctly, you're like all the way on the other side of the planet, right? So I hope it's not too late or too early for you, Waffle King, but we're glad you're here. Floxcat with $20 says, "Last week you guys talked about Persona 6 and how its color could green. My question is, what theming will the game have as 3 tackles death, 4 tackles technology and true self, and 5 tackles rebelling against societal norms?" I'm going to throw that one to you, Derrick.
That's really tough. Because there's such wide rangings. Like, I guess the idea is, like, what other things do we have, like, personas for? Like, what other ways could they sort of reveal their personas, you know? Because it was definitely more on the head with 3 and 5, with how they shot themselves, as you know, with the death part, and taking everybody wears a mask in society and revealing your true self beneath that. I don't know what would be a good one. I'm not that clever. I was gonna say, like, what could it really be? Honestly, maybe social media.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Yeah, like maybe social media and how it affects people, like the mask that people have online versus the who they really are.
Oh man, I like that idea. Now I just want that.
Yeah, that's the best idea I can have is just like the difference between your online self and your actual real life self. So that's the best I got.
Yeah, no joke. Let's see. So we read some of the more recent ones because they were germane to our discussion. Hidden Squid with $9.99 says, "Holy Fook, YouTube, Fook. I just finished a 5-hour fiber install at work. I am exhausted. I can finally take my 40-minute drive home. At least it's the weekend. Can't wait to get home and roll a joint." I'm gonna.
That's a good way to relax.
Yeah, that'll do it. I'm going to assume that you're talking about fiber optic for internet, because that's something that I'm deeply familiar with. And I can tell you, every guy that installs fiber likes to unwind in the same way. uh, something about the rigors of the job, I've heard.
Yeah.
All right, following that up, Rec BCQ, $5. By the way, an update on the D&D OGL thing. After crazy fan backlash, Wizards of the Coast backed off, and the OGL will stay unchanged, which is great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
We
I've seen
covered
that.
it.
It's
Yeah,
good stuff.
a couple weeks ago. So good stuff all around there. And finally, I wish I could remember how you say your name. Is it the Fossa or is it the Fa54?
I always went Fa 54.
The Fa54. Let's go with it. With 6 Peruvian soul. Thank you, by the way, for letting us know in the super chat that that's what it was, because I was going to Google it. It says, so who else saw the GoldenEye movie before or after playing the game? I saw it before because the game didn't exist yet, I don't think.
I saw it years later, but I also, like I said, I didn't play the game, so I didn't know much about it, honestly. I just heard that the one character's name was Zanya Onatop. So, like, okay.
That is true. Yeah, the movie came out in 95 and the game came out 2 years later. So, yeah, I definitely saw the movie before the game. It's all fuzzy for me, but
that's weird to me that GoldenEye came out so long after the movie.
It is weird, right? Yeah, so definitely just a weird bit of timing. But yeah, my parents wanted to see it. It was like the biggest movie of the year that year, and I think it had like the largest budget of a movie ever to that point or something. Not a bad movie. Wow. Pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the first Bond movies out of New Bond seem to be the best ones.
Yeah,
I think Casino Royale is probably the best Daniel Craig Bond movie.
I'm excited to see who our new Bond will be. But anyway, we should be talking about what our patrons want us to talk about. This is the section of the show where we discuss your topics. As I mentioned before, patreon.com/GVGaming if you want to learn how to submit your own. With that said, Derrick, what is your topic this week?
So it's funny because they just had to go, but I chose Cutie Caitlin's patron topic saying, let's go for a twist. Favorite game in your least favorite genre? I normally detest puzzle games like Layton or Picross only because they're too much for my brain, but set me up with Honey Pop, and it's unironically one of my favorite games of 2015. Absolute, I'm sorry, banger of a puzzle game with a dating sim elements. Legal disclaimer, Honey Pop is not for kids. This is true. So I was thinking about this, like what genres I don't really gravitate to whatsoever, and sports games. Typically, I am not a sports game player whatsoever. I do not play them. I have no interest in them. It just does not click for me. I can get into arcadey sports games, so I enjoy like SSX and the arcadey racing games, things like that. I can have fun with that sort of thing. But the only sports game that was ostensibly realistic, and granted, this was a long time ago, that I actually enjoyed was NHL 94 on the Genesis.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I had ice hockey growing up as a kid on NES, and I loved that game. It was so much fun. And so I think my parents noticed that, and they're like, well, he has a Genesis, and here's the latest game, so here's NHL 94. And it threw me off that you were going up and down rather than left and right like with ice hockey on NES. But the game is actually still legit fun. I remember having a really good time playing through that. I knew none of the teams. I don't follow ice hockey whatsoever, but I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. NHL 94. Who knew?
Nice. For me, I would say, this is a tough one. I would say that I'm not typically a fan of what I'll call PC MMOs, like the ones that are designed to be played with keyboard and mouse versus a controller. And I probably spent 2 years with Champions Online as like my main game. Champions Online, if you don't know, is it's not very popular, but it's a superhero MMO where you make your superhero and you choose their powers and then you can like fly around and fight crime. And I played probably a solid like 2,000 hours of that game. Like it is just, I played it all the time. I recruited friends to play it with me. I spent hours upon hours in it by myself. Just a really good time. I had a lot of fun with it, and it's in a genre that I pretty much hate. Like if you put me in front of WoW, you put me in front of any of the other more popular games that are of that genre, I can't stomach them for more than like 10 minutes, and then I'm out. So I would say it's a tough genre for me to get into.
Crying in Final Fantasy 14.
I do like Final Fantasy 14. I played it though on PS5, not on my PC, so I had a controller at least.
Yeah, there is that. You just want to have a keyboard next to you so you can actually type to
Yeah,
people and that sort of thing.
for sure. I do
So
need to play more FF14. Like what I played, I
you
really enjoyed.
you should. You're still in the early stuff that's just, honestly just okay, but it's a nice introduction. Like it just gets better and better. But I don't want to go on a diatribe.
Yeah,
So there we
yeah.
go.
That's a long that's a long laundry list. But thank you for the topic, Cutie Caitlin. Sorry you had to go before we read it. Let's see. I'm gonna pick at random here because I'm a bit unprepared. So I'm gonna choose Vedron's. Vedron writes, after the reveal of Hi-Fi Rush and thinking about game art styles lately, there really hasn't been a lot of AAA games with colorful art palettes in recent years outside of Nintendo. Which game or series do you guys personally is your favorite to just look at aesthetically? The world, the characters, etc. Fire Emblem would probably be one of my top ones. As far as it's a little hard for me. My brain says Zelda immediately, but I don't think that's fair because every Zelda game looks wildly different than the one that came before. I would have to say in terms of consistency, and again, this is weird, but I would say Final Fantasy. I think Final Fantasy traditionally pushes the envelope of what is possible in the current generation that it launches in. FF7, they're traditionally like visual showcases for whatever hardware they land on. And so I think that I'm generally blown away. Like every time I play a new Final Fantasy, I'm like, holy crap, look how far we've come. So that would be my answer, Final Fantasy.
Okay. Uh I gotta go Valkyria Chronicles. I'm like thinking about that art
Ooh.
style and just the I don't it drew me in immediately. The gameplay was so great, and I just adore I adore those. Uh Valkyria, I would not mind a set of like a dual port of Valkyria Chronicles 2 and 3, specifically 3 because that's the one that's way more interesting. And fortunately 2 went with a let's have a school of setting for this. No, but 3 is like, hey, what if your main characters are black ops agents that doing the dirty work of the war? It's like, oh, now that's interesting. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it just looks really good. The gameplay is great, and yeah, I just that's first one that really came to me as far as that art style and just seeing how it just colorful, interesting, and fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I have not played nearly as much of the Valkyria Chronicles series as I would like to, but yeah, they're just stunning. Like
Mm.
that's what draws me in is they're such gorgeous games. Anyway, we've reached the end of the show, which I think we're making like record time here, folks.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's impressive. We kept it to an hour for the first time ever.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. So thank you guys so
we,
much.
we,
We do have one or two more super chats, right?
I think one more super chat.
Yes, we have $2 from Disney Duncan, who writes, "How can I be a guest on GVG?" That I would love to be able to answer that question for you, Duncan. We used to have TNT, and we used to routinely have guests for that. What we learned is that scheduling guests is really hard.
Yeah,
Like it is.
that was, oh my god, it was so. Sometimes it was really rough trying to find a guest for TNT.
Yeah. So I think now it's more of like a if we have a guest and it makes sense, like somebody approaches us and they want to be on the show, within reason, right? Traditionally someone in the content creation community or someone that's in the journalism side of the games industry or someone who created a game they want to talk about is available and wants to be on the show, then we're definitely open to it. But right now it's kind of like a weird, we're still, GVGcast has kind of found its footing and we're working through that. But we definitely look to collaborate with folks whenever we can and when it makes sense. And yeah, like I'm going to butcher your name. Lux Kurisu says in our live audience chat, if we could get T Lopes to come on, that'd be great. If he's available and wants to hop on the show, then absolutely. And while we were doing that, we got one more super chat from our good friend Rec BCQ. Thank you so much. With $5 rates. What's a game that you have played purely because it was ridiculous? It looks horrible, but you have morbid curiosity, like that strange crab game. No one's ever gonna let me forget Fight Crab.
Nope, definitely not.
That's
Um,
every WarioWare game. Like,
does it look? Does it look horrible?
I think I play them for the absurdity of them, not for the quality, if that makes sense. Like I never go, oh man, the gameplay is so great. It's always like, oh man, I made Wario stick a finger in his nose. But Akiba's Trip, I have played that. That's a great one. I Eat Dragons. I played the hell out of that. And back in my early content creation days, when I just had these small ambitions of being on Twitch, I did do the little sync up where people could mess with the game, and I had like 2 viewers who were screwing with me the whole time.
For me, if I had the time and the money, it would have been Stranger Paradise, because I just remember looking at that, all the commercials for that. It's like, this looks stupid, and I can't wait to play it. I just didn't get a chance to, which sucks. But well, sometime at some point. Honestly, at this point, I'm waiting for a complete edition because they released all that DLC. So I'm like, come on, complete edition. That'll just like for $40. I'm in.
Oh, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there for sure. And Vedran, I have seen your notes about Pizza Tower. I want to play it. I reached out to the developer to see if they'd give me a code, and they didn't respond. So maybe I'll pick it up on Steam or something. But we'll see.
Have you seen that clip of Stranger Paradise with the latest DLC where they run into the Emperor for Final Fantasy II?
No, I haven't.
They got Jack looking at him with one of those classic quotes of his, like, I knew it. Just looking at your face, I knew you'd spout bullshit. It's just like, nice. Which is a perfect thing to just say to the Emperor.
Jack has a gun now. Okay, I've got to see all this. But anyway, all right. So we have reached the end of episode 42 of the GVGcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. As we do, and as is customary at the end of these episodes, we have to give a thank you to all of you for making this show happen. Obviously, we couldn't do what we do each and every week without your help. It means the world to us. But we have to give a special thank you to our patrons at the producer tier and above. You guys really, support us in a way that helps us keep the lights on. It means a lot to us. If you want to find out how you can join them, patreon.com/GVGaming. Each and every one of you means the world to us. But I have to give an extra special thank you to our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. Y'all know who you are, but just in case you forgot, that includes Brandon Bovia, Cutie Caitlin, Fangs, Z Patty, Just Brian, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman 23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Waffle King, who is not from Australia, Critter XD, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vedran, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao, Blindman, Azran127, Black King, Pagrema, Geller, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Kyle, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Doug Shomix, Andrew Medeiros, Brady Power, Darchi, Becca, Killamox, Eddie B, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber, CPHT, Too Much Spaghetti, Bane 400, Ascaron 809, Rioner, Nathan Steele, Spicy Autanda, Rain and Clouds, The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Grantles, Ravelox, my mom, hi mom, Mega Amster, Dark Steel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Cystic Warrior 29, DJ Jersic, Super Dank Awesome Unicorn Guy, Derrick, Colin, Blaze Star, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Keel, Moon Knight, Brendan Hesse, Hustlebun, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, the entire state of Wisconsin, Jim Wakelin, Longboy Shiggy, Andy Mine P, Ad, Kyle the Monarch, Dat Alpha Lion, Lord Metarex, Kyle Gamer and Barry Rookie, Salad Dinner, Blaze Collard, Eric, Turbo, DGC, Cat Evie Person 5, Lady Maxillary, Dr. Ryan, Mega Beatman True Blue Reviews, and last but not least, Young Ant. Woo! That is a list.
Yes, it is.
Thank you guys so much for your support. It truly does mean everything to us. We couldn't do this without you, but that does wrap it up for episode 42 of the GVGcast. We will be back on Sunday if you're an executive producer or above. Where we're headed right now is to our Patreon exclusive post show. If you want to find out how you can join that, again, patreon.com/GVGaming. Also, don't forget that we're also on Twitch at twitch.com/officialGVG, where you can watch Good Vibes Arcade, as the shirt says, where Daniel and Brandon do their best to struggle against the worst at games. I don't know. I'm coming up with a tagline off the top of my head. They're great. You should watch them. It's entertaining.
You never know what they'll play.
You never, ever know. But anyway, make sure to check them out over there. But that's going to do it for us. We will see you guys next week if you don't make it to any of those things I mentioned before for episode 43 of the GVG cast. And until next time, folks, good night and good vibes. Bye, everyone.
Bye.